Okay, welcome back to the garage. Today what we're going to be doing is hopefully figuring out how to install my super fancy dancy aftermarket tack. Wasn't super fancy, it was 50 bucks on eBay. But and it doesn't even go to a Mustang American V8 car. But anyway, let's spin you around and I'll show you what the tack looks like and the mounting bracket and where I plan on putting it, and it's going to be awesome. Anyway, stand by. So the tack is available. It is an Italian tack out of something. That might be a Fiat. I have no idea. But anyway, it had a reasonable red line or reasonable readout, right? Up to 8,000 RPM. I like how it looked. I like how simple it is. It was, like I said, 50 or 60 bucks on eBay. And yeah, made in Italia. But yeah, it's not the same old tack, right, that people use. So I really like it. And then, let me move that over to the side. I bought this guy, which is an Autometer gauge mounting cup, part number 5204. Used with all 3 3/8 inch gauges. So here's the problem that I found. This is not 3 3/8. It was advertised as such. It's, I think, 3 1/8, 3 1/4. I don't know. It's slightly smaller. So I have some of this felt wire loom tape that I wrapped around it, and it actually holds it in there pretty well. So what I'm going to do is actually just mounting it up on the dash. Going to screw that into the dash through my fancy new dash pad, just like they did in the 66 GT350Rs. What else? So I have wiring here. Yellow is constant, red is switched power for my radio. I'm just going to use that, tap into that to provide power to the tack. And then this is my signal wire coming from my coil. And then underneath here, this is it's for my interior lighting. That's for the glove box light, which you can see is not in there. But what that does is that'll tie into my lights right here. Because there is a light bulb in the back of the tack. So anyway, what I need to do is splice in some wires there, right? Because I still want to have this pigtail for my radio. So what I'll do is I'll cut it, butt connectors, and then have 2 wires coming out either end. And then I will run it up through the dash here. I'll put a nice little wire loom over it so it looks nice, and then figure out how the hell I'm gonna wire or screw this thing to the dash. But anyway, onward. Cool. So like I said, the yellow wire here is the constant power, and then the red is the switched power, right, for your radio. So what I'm going to do is take this, and I'm going to snip that, and I'm going to snip that. I'm going to offset them ever so slightly. And then what you do is strip that back, toss a butt connector on there, get a second length of wire, connect it with this one, stick it in the other on the butt connector, so it's 1 in, 2 out. And then one of those 2 will feed the tack right up top there.
A few moments later.
Cool. So as you can see, 2 in, 4 out. Pretty straightforward, not rocket surgery. So what I'm going to do now is I will take these, I'll separate them. Again, I'll wire loom them and run it up here. And oh yeah, I also need to do this one. So let me get that run up and over, and I'll wire loom it all together. So I got the wire and run up here. And I actually just realized I was totally being an idiot when talking about the wiring. So I have this little spade connector for my light, which that is connected to the light down there. I have my tack signal. I have power, which I ended up doing switched power because it doesn't need to have power all the time. It's a good way to get a parasitic draw on your battery. And then I have a ground. Ground is important. So anyway, next up, what I'm going to do is take the actual frame and the foot and stick it on here. All right, you can go either way, right, with it kind of facing front and back, but I'm gonna go with it facing backwards. And what I'll do is I'll place it about where I think I want it. And then I'm going to mark the holes right there and see about screwing this thing down. I'm not sure if I can just screw into the dash pad. That probably won't be good enough. I might have to go all the way into the actual metal underneath. I hope I only have to go into here because it's gonna be a nightmare to get a drill in there. But anyway, so that's what I'm gonna do really quick. Alright, so I don't know if y'all can see that, but I had to do some customizing. So there's a little bar that goes in here that maintains the distance there. But because I'm bodging this thing together, there's a frame that goes around the actual, well, you might be able to see it right there. But and it has two little ears. The ears are supposed to go on the outside of that, and then you just screw it in. Because the gauge pod doesn't match the gauge, doesn't match anything else that, you know, whatever, it happens. What I had to do is I actually filed that bar down. I shrunk it a little bit. So one ear's on the inside, one ear's on the other side, just to make sure this stays nice and tight. So got that installed. Theoretically, I have it wired up all correctly. Not entirely sure. I'm going to take a little bit of this guy right here, which is my, you know, split wire loom. This stuff's really awesome. It's kind of a nightmare when you cut it, so you got to burn the ends a little bit. But anyway, that's the gauge installed, and this is kind of the view from the pilot's seat. I have it right there. What I'm going to do is, one, I need to establish my actual red line. I'm anticipating about $7 grand. So what I'll do is I'll get a little yellow or red piece of tape to put a little tick mark there. Boom, red line sorted. And if you saw on the light bulb, it sticks out of the backside of the gauge itself with a little tab. I folded that tab over, put the spade connector on there, and I taped it up with some tape so it doesn't actually short out on the housing. But anyway, that is my